next up, we want to welcome Amos Joseph, CEO and co-founder of Swan AI, and Meagen Eisenberg, CMO and board member at Samsara, Naven, MongoDB, and G2. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having us. Amos, I think we're in good shape. The last thing they talked about was just because you give humans tools doesn't mean they'll be necessarily more productive or deliver earlier. They actually need deadlines. But if you give it to an agent, they will. So I think that is right in line with what we're going to talk about, really a system of action. So I'm excited to be talking with you today and have you on and really kick off with, you described a new paradigm, the system of action. How do you define it?
Amazing. So we're starting with the hard questions right off the bat. I like it. We didn't come here to play games. So a system of action is basically the intelligence layer that stands between your data and systems and your execution, your ideas, basically. So it's where ideas become automated workflows with no technical complexity involved. And we want to break it down here for a second, Meagen, before this might sound abstract. And a lot of people are throwing a lot of big words in the air in the last few months, let's call it like that. And so if you look at this new software paradigm shift that our AI agents are bringing to the table, one of the things that will radically change is how we're interacting with our systems, right? And AI agents, what they can be really good at is becoming that intermediate between us, what we want, and the systems. And then you can imagine two different futures here that are already unraveling. One is that every application will develop their own concierge, let's call it, like we're maybe seeing a bit here. So instead of going to Swan, I will talk with Swan agent. And then instead of going to Salesforce, I will talk with Salesforce agent. But another future that we might imagine is that there is one system of action, one agent to rule them all, that all of the systems will connect to that agent, and it will be able to orchestrate ideas and turn them into workflows across your systems, and will use your data to act upon it. And that is the future that we're betting on, actually. We're already seeing unraveling, basically.
Sounds good. So why do you think SaaS as we know it is being replaced by the agentic layer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if you look at the cloud revolution in that sense, so what we've witnessed is that instead of going to these apps that I have on-prem, I can now go to the browser, and from the browser I can access all of these apps, right? And the new software paradigm shift, it's also a platform shift. Again, every software paradigm shift brings a new platform shift. We've seen it in mobile as well, by the way. And mobile brought as well a new platform shift. And what we're seeing here is that this new browser is the system of action, basically. And we're already starting, if you've been like a savvy user of ChatGPT or Gemini, you notice that you can connect your email for all of a sudden to ChatGPT. And you might be able to connect your Drive and Notion, and then HubSpot just announced that you can connect it to Claude and ChatGPT, and all of a sudden, these just consumer apps are becoming this browser to the world of AI and to the world of your systems and data, and that's where basically the fight is going towards. And if you look at Salesforce, for example, with Agentforce and HubSpot with all that agents, what they're realizing, this is not an offense move, this is a defensive move. They're understanding that the strategic control of the stack moves from the system of record to the system of action. And the one that will control that layer, basically, will control the entire stack around it.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to ask, what sort of parallels or differences in these past paradigm shifts with SaaS, cloud, mobile. I think you talked to that a little bit. Also today, I saw an announcement where there's now a MCP registry. So I think that'll be interesting as we start to develop into this new paradigm and world. So looking at what does that mean as a
Yeah.
company that's built our own in the marketing org that's firing off a lot of different things and having agents run. So I'll be curious on that. But let's talk a little bit about the vision of the system of action. Walk us through Swan's vision. What does a go-to-market team's day look like once they have a system of action?
Yeah, definitely. So Swan, our customers, they look at it and call it lovable for GTM. Okay. It's an AI go-to-market engineer. It's kind of like a developer, a technical resource that works together with sales and marketing and RevOps to turn any go-to-market idea into an agentic workflow in seconds, from prompt to pipeline. So you could really scale demand and revenue with intelligence, not headcount, and iterate on your go-to-market at the speed of thought. And what we were accustomed to is that we have an idea and we want to say, maybe our go-to-market should look a little bit different. We want to change our ICP, we want to change a specific buyer journey, we want to change our messaging in some way, or we want to change how inbound leads are captured and processed and turned into meetings or whatever. And we have like this small idea, and the distance between that idea and its execution is so long. It takes so many hours of implementation. But what if that distance became zero? Became like a second. I could just tell Swan, this is what I want to do, basically. This is the new idea. And Swan will be able to translate it into an agentic workflow in seconds. And so it's not like Swan and the system of action is about replacing sellers. It's about removing all the technical complexity that stands between go-to-market teams and their ideas and their ability to differentiate and to iterate on what makes them more efficient and better than their competitors.
Yeah, I guess that's what you mean by one agent will interface for all workflows. You go to one browser, one place. It's all, instead of having to log into several different systems, connect them, and work maybe with different teams that own different parts of what you need to put out there. Certainly as a CMO, with multiple teams building content and then bringing it all together and then trying to create that experience around the buyer. How do you orchestrate that from one place? And it sounds like this could be the answer to that. I'm curious.
Yeah, Meagen, I want to double down on that and also refer to something you mentioned earlier, because you talked about the MCP registry. So for those of you who don't know what MCP is, so it's basically a simple way for the developer community to agree on how to connect systems to agents, like in a very simple way. And it's if we all follow the MCP, so it would be very easy for a developer to build an AI agent that could talk with HubSpot, but then also with Salesforce, but then also with Slack, but then also with whatever, and etc. And that signal shows us that the world wants to connect these systems to agents, right? And so the buyer always prefers that one source of truth, that one place to control everything from. And that was a promise that buyers have been sold to for many, many, many years, that the one system that will do everything, especially in go-to-market. And buyers got tired of that promise, but they really want it. And for the first time in software history, we got the right technology to power that.
Yeah, it makes sense, because my other question would be, okay, I've got a CRM, I have Marketo for marketing automation, I've got data warehouse, these all seem to be the record or the one source of truth, although they bidirectionally sync information and are they have different people logging in and using them. So I guess it doesn't really matter, because as long as you know where the data resides and you have a way to connect into it with the MCP layer, the agents can go find it.
Yeah, that's true. And the mindset that changes here is that in a world where you have that system of action, that intermediate, basically, that helps you either build out these workflows or initiate these one-offs, like, find me that and perform that action, etc. You have that intermediate. What happens is that all your systems become service providers to that agent, basically. So they stop serving users and they start serving agents in that sense. And we're already seeing that in Swan. We see that the best teams, what they're trying to do is they look at, their data and they look at their systems and they try to understand how, agents could use them, basically, in a way, right? And we're at that very inconvenient stage where we're trying to change that stack. That is what's happening right now. We're trying to change what we already have so that agents could use them. And so what happens to Marketo and Salesforce, etc., they just become the back end of that intermediate system. They are just service provider. And so they should focus on what they know to do best. It's not like the system of action will perform everything on its own. It will just be intermediate. So if you're really good at A/B testing, performance marketing, for example, you will still do that, but the one that will control that will be an agent on behalf of the user.
It makes a lot of sense. So you describe Swan as lovable for go-to-market, and I have to admit, I love that tool. I've played with it to build some fun apps. So I'm curious, if I'm a AI go-to-market engineer that can turn these ideas into workflow, can you share just a concrete example of a customer turning a raw idea into pipeline?
Yeah. So let's talk about what I believe is one of the most impactful motions in go-to-market right now, but also the one that requires the most engineering to perform, actually. And that is first-party intent, basically. So if you look at, generating pipeline right now, it's not, I've never talked to a CMO or CRO that says, yeah, we have enough pipeline, we don't need more, we're totally okay with that, no need to help. And if you look at what generates pipeline in the most efficient way is actually, acting upon first party intent, people that are engaging with your assets and you know exactly who they are and they're showing an interest in what you're selling or the content that you're putting out there, and you want to turn that engagement into qualified pipeline, basically. But it's extremely complex because what happens if it's already a closed lost? So there's a lot of context there that we want to understand what to do with it. What happens if it's in the pipeline even? That's super interesting. The AEs could actually leverage that and understand, okay, they are coming to our website. What does that mean to the exact deal stage that we're at? But what happens if it's net new? Is it a relevant company? Is it within our ICP? It's not within our ICP. Is the level of intent enough for us to double down here with an SDR, or should we just put it in a nurturing sequence? So just for a small motion here, that is first party intent, the engineering efforts to start experimenting on understanding what is the right buyer journey for every scenario here is so vast that 99% of go-to-market organizations just result to spray and pray. Okay, someone visits our website, let's put them in a 20-step sequence and hope that they will convert. And they're saying, wow, it's working much better than cold outbound. Okay, but what we're missing out here is a huge potential of much more efficient conversion that all across the journey and up until the pipeline late stages, basically. And so Swan can turn all of that technical complexity into something that you can just iterate on in a natural language and speak to it and just say, yeah, you know what, let's try like that, but let's try like that. Yeah, we're seeing great results, but I want you to notify the reps, don't send an email, just update the hubs, just update the CRM, etc. Whatever you want it to basically work, you can just tell Swan to do it and it will build it for you in seconds.
And how does that work? How does Swan connect to our existing systems of record or third-party data or even other agents?
Yeah. So you mentioned MCP at the beginning. I'm going back to it. That was a great data point to bring up, Meagen. So what we did actually, we built kind of like our own version of that. We built a connector that Swan can either connect to a system, and so that we have like a system connector. That system could be either Salesforce or HubSpot or Outreach or SalesLoft or whatever basically you have in your, or Marketo in that sense. And so you can integrate into a system, read and write into that system based on the data, that first party data that you have there, and the actions that you perform. Then you have another connector, which is the data connector. So we actually offer third-party data connections out of the bat with Swan. So if you want to find contacts, enrich accounts in using intent signals like first-party intent, you can use from Swan directly, and Swan can integrate with these data providers, like third-party data providers off the bat. You can either work with yours or with ours. Then finally, you have that agent connector. So for example, right now, if you want Swan to research online an account that just submitted a demo request, so Swan will use Perplexity, which is an AI search engine, to do it. It's an AI agent that goes online. So we didn't have to invent researching online on our own. We just connected Swan to the Perplexity agent, and it can now just tell Perplexity agent, hey, Meagen wants to research that lead, just do it for her. And it does.
Yeah, it's interesting. My team's been doing similar things where they're doing the deep research using Perplexity to create account. Like I'm preparing a sales rep to go into a sales meeting and giving them all the background on the account and being able to pull that in. It's pretty cool how far we've come on that. Something that would take a few hours is minutes. So it's great to see that you're sort of orchestrating that across many different systems and use cases. So where are your customers finding the biggest ROI? Is it speed, scale, cost reduction, creativity?
Yeah. So all of the above, I would say, but I'll explain the current, the main pillar here is speed of iteration, we call it. Okay. So we believe that right now, the biggest barrier in go-to-market is not better data and it's not better AI. It's just to remove all the technical complexity that stands between teams and their tech stack. That is the biggest barrier. The moment that you remove that barrier, what happens is that your speed of iteration and your ability to execute on what you think is the best thing to execute on just increases by 2 or 3 scales, basically. And that is the main differentiator that we believe that would always be in go-to-market, your ability to understand what makes your organization unique and your organization better than your competitors, and iterate on it faster and double down on it. So Swan is really a tool that is designed to amplify your knowledge and your team in the way that you think will do it in the best way, and helps you to experiment on it in a super fast way until you get to that gold mine. So you can double down on it and scale it.
Yeah, I keep thinking about Tim's chart that he was showing earlier around it's all about deadlines. And so do you program that into your agents and give them deadlines? Anyway, as a leader, I'm going to take that back. We bought all these AI tools and we're seeing all this interesting productivity and things coming out of it. But at the end of the day, what's the deadline is about where we're going to deliver. So I find, I think that's interesting. Well, you've onboarded over 300 companies already. What are some of the patterns that are emerging from successful adoption?
Yes. So, wow, that's a question I love, because I feel like most AI implementations fail. And it's the hard truth. And I think that there's like one main reason for it, basically, that if we'll focus on that, then we would probably, make most of them successful, actually. And the reason is that the entire mindset around implementing AI is trying to optimize it for perfection, not for adaptation. What does that mean? Is that we foolishly think that we know how should AI be implemented within the company, and we invest a lot of efforts in building that version together with the vendor, maybe internally, whatever. And then it breaks, it doesn't work. And we say, the project we need to think about something else. But the truth is that we don't know. This is a new technology. No one knows No one on planet Earth knows what will work, Meagen, for your specific go-to-market organization. No one knows, not even your organization, but the only ones who are able to understand it is your organization in an iterative process. Okay. And if you focus on an AI implementation that will allow you to discover, iterate, and change and adapt, then eventually, in a very fast, actually, paced environment, you'll be able to get to an AI that really moves the needle in a consistent and efficient way. And Swan is a product that is designed from the ground up for feedback loops and for adaptation. And so it's not about onboarding for like 3 months and then seeing if it could just, run for an entire year on its own. It's actually a very lightweight onboarding, and then every touch point with Swan just makes it more adaptable to what you want. It learns from your feedback. You talk to it, you can tell it, I want you actually to be like that. This is what I want. We've actually learned that what we're doing right now isn't working. We need to change. We need to go to a different direction, and Swan can adapt to it. And so we should start optimizing for adaptation, not for perfection.
And here I thought it was just going to be about prompts. If I could just write the right prompt, it'll give me what I need. It's interesting. We're deploying it across 12 different functions here at Samsara. So my events team is using it. Of course, content. Of course, marketing ops. We're looking at data analysis. We're creating ABM pages and web pages, and we're doing a ton on the creative side with video production and all of that. So I kind of have a sense of the adoption across marketing. But when you look at across your customers and the go-to-market functions, who's adopting it the fastest? Is it the SDRs? Is it workflows? Is it marketing ops, CS, sales? Who do you think?
Yeah. So right now, AI is better in automating low-level tasks. Okay. And we should think about AI more as like an intern rather than an expert. And the areas that are, you could easily move the needle are the areas where you have the most intern level tasks. Okay. And so, of course, if you look at the top of the funnel area where, there's a lot like SDR work, basically, and there's a lot of pipeline generation efforts in, I would say, relatively low ACV accounts. Okay. That area, you might find a lot of value in, just using AI to automate a lot of the work. But if you look at, higher ACV deals, when still you need a lot of human there in the loop, then you cannot just, throw AI to just automate everything. What you start needing to think, and that's an important thing, Meagen, because I don't really believe there's a specific role by large that could benefit more from AI. I think the question should always be contextual to who are we talking about, specifically within our company, specifically our company. We're looking at our SDR team. We look at our marketing team. We look at our AEs. How can we amplify them? How can we turn them into the 100x version of themselves by taking AI, automating all the intern level works that they're doing, and amplifying what is outside of that?
Okay. Well, I did read something today that said Gemini wins the gold at this global coding competition. So I don't know if it's just the intern. It sounds like it got 12 out of 12 or 11 out of 12 or something for the first time. So it sounds like it's getting pretty smart and can do some pretty sophisticated things. So I'm excited to see where it's going. Question. One more
Meagen,
question.
I would actually, reply that because it's super interesting. And, we're living in this world where AI gets smarter and smarter every day. And, from one side of things, it's scary. But what we've seen, and by working with all the best, models out there and really building with it, is that the importance of the human in the process doesn't get eliminated, it gets amplified in that sense. And because of these, for example, coding agents. So let's take the frontier of AI. You're right to say that in coding, AI is the best at the moment. But without a human steering the wheel, It can go crazy and get rogue and get lost very fast, no matter how smart it is. And what we're seeing is that what that AI developers are doing, they're opening a window into much more productive environment, but the humans that are controlling them in the right way are able to output 10x more output at a given time. And so what we're seeing is a world where humans can just create much more by working with these agents rather than these agents replacing them and doing their work.
I see. Well, one of the questions that came in now was just how does Swan look at context? It came in through our chat, about not just about speed, but context. Can Swan bring in client knowledge? And if so, how much?
Yeah. So the way that we look at context is actually through memory. Okay, and I hope that we'll have enough time to talk because that's a huge favorite topic of mine. But in a world where agents are interacting with our systems and with our data, etc., things stop becoming data, they're becoming memories. What does that mean? Is that in Swan can look at all of the account interactions, for example, that it had with you, and it has memory of that account interactions and can understand the timeline and what happens before and after, and can reason about these data points from a memory perspective because it's kind of like quote unquote remember that. It can also remember that what's your ICP. And if you ask it a question or to perform a task, it would kind of like remember your ICP, bring it into the prompt, what you would call, and then perform the action with this ICP in mind. But it's more than that, actually. If you interact with Swan would recommend you to send an email to Meagen and to personalize it in a way. And you would tell it, yeah, you know what? But let's change it. I didn't really like the way that you wrote it. I want it to be written in a more casual way. Swan will remember that when we're reaching out to CMOs at Fortune 1000 companies, we actually want to have a casual tone, and that's how we want to engage. So we have that memory as well. So it's not only about the customer knowledge, it's actually about memorizing the interactions with the customer and the data that you have in your systems of record.
I see. So it's sort of like a best friend. It's going to remember I like dark chocolate, I like oat milk lattes, all those things, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're up at the top of our time. Where can people see Swan in action?
Yes. So first of all, you can go to getswan.com. And there's a video there of how it works. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I love to talk about, what's working today with AI agents, what's not working. I love to call BS on a lot of stuff. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, and I also have a newsletter that is called The Big Shift. So you can search it online. And if you want to get a front seat to how we're building Swan as an AI native business from day one, and you want to learn from our lessons, so you can just follow along.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed talking with you today. Julia, thank you for having us, and I'll hand it back over.
Thank
What
you,
an
Meagen.
amazing, super insightful session. Thank you so much, Amos and Meagen. How about yourself, Meagen? How can we support you best, and where should our people go?
Well, certainly, if you're looking for any fleet solutions, dash cameras or telematics, samsara.com. But I'm on LinkedIn and always happy to have fun conversations around where marketing and technology are going.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.